So again, somatosensation carries sensations from the body, and that includes, lots of mechanoreceptive information. That's information about like what you're pressing and touching, what's mechanically manipulating, parts of your body. It's carried by mechanoreceptors, and also what we call proprioception, which is like position sense, like the stretch of muscles and the position of joints. There are specialized mechanoreceptors, or what they call proprioceptors, that are responding to that stretch and signaling back to the brain. And all that mechanoreceptive information, begins with specialized mechanoreceptors. This is actually one that was kind of organized by a student. This is like literally the Meissner's corpuscle. This is the nerve ending would be right in this purple part here, and this is the corpuscle that surrounds it. And when you press on it, like here, I'll do that, boom, boom, it actually puts pressure on this. It actually swings open specialized channels here and allows for what we call depolarization. It initiates an action potential, and that runs along here, into the spinal nerve, the root. It's called the dorsal root. Here's the cell body on this pseudo-unipolar neuron right here. And then this piece will go rise up the back of the spinal cord in these great big cables of wiring, of white matter, called the dorsal columns, and then it'll finally make a synaptic connection here at the level of the brainstem. And then there's a crossing over of that information. The next neuron in this network will what they say decussate. That's a fancy word for cross to the other side, to the contralateral side, the opposite side of the brain, and then rise up and go make a synaptic connection in a nucleus in a structure called the thalamus, which sits right on top of the brain stem. And from there, it'll go up and get mapped, on the contralateral opposite side of the body now, in primary somatosensory cortex. This is also known as S1, and it's in the parietal lobe. So information that's going to be coming from your body involved in mechanoreception or proprioception, position sense, mechanical manipulation, touch, tactile kinds of information is going to go a certain, direction. It's going to work its way, up the dorsal columns. They call this the dorsal column system at the back of your, spinal cord. Make a connection again in brainstem, cross over, go to the thalamus, and end up in the parietal lobe. We're going to see that sensory information that's more kind of emotionally significant and salient, things like injury or temperature or itch and things like that. That's going to take a different pathway, from the body, up through the spinal cord, different locations in the spinal cord, and ultimately to a different lobe of the brain. It's going to go, we're going to see, to a lobe called the insular lobe. But mechanoreception, proprioception, that goes to the parietal lobe.